Hello, welcome to this session of the Worcestershire Local Enterprise Partnerships Virtual Conference 2020. We discussed a number of topics in previous days, but today is really focused on the future and the future economy. We're really looking at that dynamic business community that we're trying to create and how it plays into the 2020 vision. And to start this session, I've got Linda and Matt with me. Linda's part of the LEP team and driving BetaDen forward, but BetaDen started to create that sort of buzz around it. But what have been real successes over the last 12 months?
Well, BetaDen is making great progress. From our launch in June 2018, I'm really pleased to say that we are now driving our third pilot cohort programme, all part of the plan to really get a technology accelerator established in Worcestershire.
No, that's great. And Matt, you were part of Cohort 2.
Yep, Cohort 2. We started, I think, was it back in autumn last year, 2019. So we were on that for 9 months and finished earlier this year, right in the middle of COVID, obviously. But yeah, it's been real help for us. Yeah,
and what were some of the things that you sort of got out of it, you know, in terms of help and support?
Yeah, well, we're a local technology business already, so we're small but established. The big thing for us was the ability to start to focus on new technologies, new ideas, and for me personally, get me out of running the business. I think often as an entrepreneur, you can fall into a position where you're running your business, not focusing on how you can grow it. And so BetaDen for me, although my office was literally 50 yards over the science park, I kind of moved myself out into BetaDen so I could do that focusing, which was really valuable.
Okay, and Linda, you know, BetaDen's there, but what's really the driving force behind the sort of vision and the programme?
The big vision is Worcestershire's ambition to create a brand new, thriving digital economy where an accelerator, a technology accelerator, really can be the catalyst and the go-to place located in the county for young entrepreneurs, for existing small tech businesses just like Matt's, can kind of have the support and the dedicated place to kind of go and grow new concepts or get something to a minimal viable product or get to investment readiness. So we want to be a real resource in Worcestershire, and it's something that Worcestershire's wanted for a long time. So it's great to get this pilot kind of off go and, as I said, now in its third cohort pilot programme.
And building that sort of entrepreneurial community is not an easy thing to do. There's some real challenges that you've got here.
We have real challenges, and Matt will probably help me on this one a little bit. We have some great businesses in Worcestershire and some great entrepreneurs. The challenge is how you kind of knit this together so that you can create a credible place and also the content that businesses and entrepreneurs are looking for to really push them on their journey. So it's a big risk that Worcestershire has taken in investing in BetaDen, but it was a long-held ambition to address the low culture of entrepreneurship here. The known places, as we know, are places like Oxford, Manchester, London, Birmingham, all have good academic accelerators, but BetaDen is a commercial technology accelerator with a definite route to market principle.
And Matt, since finishing the cohort, what's happened to your business since?
So, well, I mean, probably step back a bit. And when we came up with an idea in 2019 about how we could create private mobile networks. So this was just really simply how you can make mobile networking more secure, support things like remote working and the Internet of Things. For us, the challenge was initially, how do you even test whether that thing's real? Is there a market for it? Test some of the technological proof of concept work. The first year was really testing that idea, and that's where we got there. Now we've come out of the other end, we've really got a viable product, so we started to sell that into corporations. So we'll see about a 20% increase in our turnover this year, which, given everything that's going on, we're really, really pleased with. But a lot of that foundation has been built upon these new services that frankly, a year ago were kind of ideas, and ideas are easy. You know, it's the execution of them that's more difficult. So it was that catalyst really to turn it from being just that concept into something real, and now it's actually delivering revenues and hopefully will start to really grow in 21.
Yeah.
And have you stayed in touch with some of the mentors that have come?
Yeah, we stay in touch with the mentors. In fact, one of the mentors is now working in my team, you know, quite substantially, and then we also keep in touch with a lot of the cohort members. So for instance, Plinks, develop technology for the construction industry to make construction workers more secure. So we started collaborating together. They're using our mobile technologies within their service, which is fantastic. You know, it's early stage, but it's that whole collaboration that's really been quite interesting for us, because I think, as Linda was saying, you know, Worcestershire is not really known as a technology hub. You see, you've got Oxford and Cambridge and the big cities, and I've always been involved in tech, and frankly, probably up until a few years ago, didn't really realise that I could build a tech business in Worcestershire properly, and now this is starting to come alive. So yeah, it's been really interesting times. We're quite confident for next year, all things being equal, and yeah, definitely staying in touch with the cohort and the mentors.
Yeah.
And how's Cohort 3 doing, particularly with the backdrop of COVID?
Well,
bit of another challenge there.
Well, as I said, for this conference and for 2020, and for probably for most of the people listening to these workshops online, Cohort 3 are having a very interesting time. We onboarded them. We didn't want to stop. We didn't want to kind of make COVID-19 the kind of reason we couldn't keep, you know, the pace going, because we'd had such a good outcome with cohorts 1 and 2. So we onboarded them virtually in May, and then we started a mixture of physical and virtual delivery, which is how we're running. We had a very successful in-house small event, I would stress, because we can't do public events, but the plan is more online, and our tech talks that we deliver bi-monthly on different topics, again, are going very well, with, you know, kind of sign-ups of nearly 200 per session, where we're getting the interest into BetaDen and what Worcestershire's doing to grow those very, very interesting emerging technologies.
Yeah, and the tech talks, you know, those are sort of free to anybody. You can sign up, but they're virtual.
Yep.
When's the next one?
The next one, very timely, is the 3rd of November. That's on manufacturing and 5G, but really we'll be hearing a lot more about Worcestershire's 5G commercial testbed as we progress this year and into next. And some of the 22 companies that have gone through these 3 pilots. We've got probably 6 or 7 really strong user cases out of these companies. Mixed technology at the moment, but our plan is going forward we'll focus on particular niche technologies. We start recruitment for Cohort 4 in mid-November.
Oh, I'm glad you came onto that. So yeah, certainly from our side of things, you know, that kind of 5G piece, the COVID piece.
Yeah.
We've had Steve and Andy in, you know, talking about kind of how they see that technology developing. I suppose the question to start with Linda is, you know, going forward then, how do you see that kind of technology piece, the digital piece, all fitting together to kind of make Worcestershire a hub?
Well, 5G is one part of the jigsaw, but I think the important advantage with BetaDen now, and our, should we say, our collaborative stakeholder relationships in Worcestershire really progressing well, is that BetaDen founders will have test access. So this will be part of the technology acceleration package that they'll get, which is pretty rare. We hear a lot about 5G and 5G usage, and there's a huge amount of research going on at the moment, but actual applications, and Simivate, Matt's spin-out company, is going to be a user case in this space. So this mobile-enabled workforce in private networks, we can actually test with this collaboration with Worcestershire.
Okay, Matt, how do you kind of feel about, you know, kind of Worcestershire in its place and kind of creating that hub that we're trying to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look back historically, Malvern especially in Worcestershire has always been an amazing technology hub, but it's always been kept top secret.
Well, historic.
Yeah,
yes,
it's
historic,
scientists. Yeah. You know, there's the old joke about Malvern, isn't it? Are you a scientist or a teacher? You know, if you meet anyone new, because that's essentially what Malvern was based around originally.
Yeah.
But what we've kind of got to do is move forward a little bit from those times. And really, as I see it, there's kind of 3 levels of technology company. There's those that are truly developing brand new technologies, like the work that was done on the 5G testbed. So those organizations are kind of few and far between. If you've really got to have quite deep pockets if you want to go and develop brand new technologies and lead the world in actually creating those. Then you've got the integrators and service providers like ourselves who are saying, okay, there's really interesting new technologies. How can we blend those things together to create new services that have got commercial viability out in the marketplace? And that's where we are. And then third stage is you've got the resellers, and those organizations aren't necessarily doing anything different. What they're finding best of breed products and services, and they're selling them into their existing customer base. So I think Malvern's been great at the first bit, and the 5G test bed's a really good example of that. The next phase has then got to be, how do we take this asset and help organisations at the next tier who can build commercial products but don't necessarily have great deal of kind of funding or investment money to leverage those technologies and build new services. And then if we create that's kind of core foundation technology, and then you can go and find the resellers, the service providers who want to buy those services and take them out to their customers. So for me, it'd be great if Malvern and Worcestershire could evolve to support all levels. So we've had with BetaDen a great proof of concept, but where do you go after the proof of concept?
Yeah.
You've got big organisations, obviously like Kinetic and some of the big industrials that are in the area. But again, how do they get involved with the smaller companies without there being conflicts of interest? So I think there's quite a long way to go. But certainly it's been really interesting to see how it's evolved over the last 5 years, because before that I think it's fair to say it was largely small spin-offs from the very big science companies, and that was probably all Malvern and Worcestershire were known for back then. It's kind of really changing now, but a long way to go if we're going to compete with the Oxfords, the Cambridges, the Londons and the big tech hubs around the UK.
Definitely. And the bit you want to pick up probably, Linda, is the kind of that commercialisation piece and the investment piece. Are we getting plenty of interest from the investors, but also that commercialisation focus is really what's setting us apart?
Well, BetaDen, even though we're just 2 years old, we've got a big 10-year vision. So the big 10-year vision for Worcestershire is how we make BetaDen commercially viable. And the plan for the next 5 years is a 50-50 public-private kind of scenario by 2025. We can, I believe, do something quite different because of the times we're living in. Technology and the pace of technology and digital society means that the marketplace is hungry. It doesn't matter which supply chain you're from or from which kind of element of where tech product is used. And obviously Malvern has the cybersecurity badge around it, but really it's next generation security, security by design in all aspects of products and services, solutions, software. And so I think the time is now, and BetaDen really is going to be looking to grow an investment community and be investable in not just the cohort companies, but the asset that BetaDen and the brand association can create through what we're going to evidence in showing that we can make products that the world wants to buy.
Yeah, no, definitely. And kind of Worcestershire as a region, kind of working with kind of Gloucestershire, Herefordshire, and the West Midlands, you know, do we think that's important in terms of what's around us?
I think, again, it's really important. I won't mention, well, I'll just mention Brexit, but certainly how the world's going to be different. So collaborative partners and areas of strong capability in particular niche areas of technology, which I believe with our near neighbours can be very effective. The government is looking at regionalised R&D and kind of where there are opportunities, and we'll be really on the hunt for future funding for Worcestershire to really push us forward and get us on the map properly.
And you mentioned that recruitment for Cohort 4 is opening soon. So have you got a timeline that you're starting to think about when we look for some of those new entrepreneurs like Matt?
Well, certainly, again, I suppose the ask from this conversation today is that we're hoping for industry sponsorship for the future cohorts 4, 5 and 6, where that industry partner can specify the type of technology or challenges they're looking for talent and new ideas in. So I think this brings it to life a little bit more as well, and also defines the technology. So again, Cohort 4 open for recruitment from mid-November to start with us next March 21, and really hoping for a really strong field of candidates to come into Worcestershire or from Worcestershire. And as I said, that can be small businesses, it can be businesses like Matt's, pre-existing companies, and it can be kind of individuals with a great technology idea they want to exploit.
Okay, brilliant. I think you've started this session off by getting people looking at the future and also with a bit of ambition and aspiration, which is exactly what we want for the county.
Great.
So thank you both.
Yeah.
Can I ask that you don't forget the polls that we're running? We're keen to get your feedback during the conference, and that's really important across this session, particularly when we're looking at future trends and future things that we can kind of build into the programs that we're building. Thank you both.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome to this section that focuses on the future of technology with a particular look at hydrogen, which you wouldn't necessarily associate with Worcestershire. Following Linda's session and looking at BetaDen and sort of small new companies that are starting up that are based on technology, we're we're going to two kind of more established companies that are based in the county. So with me today, I've got Carl from Worcester Bosch and Simon from Frunzuller. I probably said that wrong. Frunzuller, there we go, see, correcting me already. But coming to Carl first, so obviously we've gone into kind of the COVID and the sort of big economic shock. What have the sort of past few months been like at Worcester Bosch?
I think, like a lot of companies, pretty challenging in the early part of the first lockdown. So as we went through the end of March and into April, we saw demand drop off by 85%. So we were only seeing about 15% of normal demand through April and May. But then things started to recover fairly quickly. Thankfully, we're in a business that is not particularly a discretionary purchase. People like heating and hot water on a regular basis. So we've seen a gradual recovery through the back end of the summer and now into the autumn-winter period where we're back up to full capacity and demand is coming back quite strongly at the moment.
And Simon, same sort of question to you really, totally different sector, but what have you experienced during this sort of economic crisis?
Well, we're fortunate in some respects because we're aligned to the key worker status with local authorities. So immediately we went into the COVID lockdown for sure, and it was almost as business as usual. Fortunately for us, we've actually seen an increase in profits. Our service has gone up by 25%. The only real negative is people are working from home, so you haven't got the spirit of the company, although that's coming back. And we've had a slight delay on order intake, although that's now starting to pick up. So yeah, I think we're fortunate in the respect that we've been aligned to the key suppliers. We're a key supplier.
Definitely. Carl, coming to you, in previous sessions we've looked at infrastructure and digital connectivity, and obviously Linda in her session was talking about the importance of 5G and that next digital age. But I suppose innovation at the heart of Bosch, why is hydrogen so important?
Well, one of the big challenges in the UK when you look at decarbonising the energy system in the future is heat. So we're well on the track to decarbonise power generation, electricity generation with wind turbines and solar technology. From a transportation point of view, passenger cars moving over to electric vehicles, there's a clear strategy there. But actually heat is still in the hard to do box. And therefore we've started liaising with government, and we're part of a government funded programme called High for Heat, which is looking at the whole feasibility of repurposing the gas network here in the UK to carry hydrogen and therefore decarbonise the heating of our buildings using that fuel instead of natural gas. And when you think that over 85% of domestic houses here in the UK are connected to the natural gas network, then we are heavily reliant upon gas for heating and far more reliant on that single fuel than any other country here in Europe.
And Carl, it's not really as simple as just switching the boiler in your household, is it? There's far more challenges to kind of moving from natural gas to hydrogen.
Yeah, and the solution around electrification is also heavily in debate. And there are many academics and exponents who argue that why not just electrify everything? But again, there's some unique characteristics here in the UK. We've got a lot of old housing stock. So you look at many of the big cities, they've got significant quantities of old Victorian, Georgian housing, which is very difficult to insulate efficiently to operate an electric heat pump practically and efficiently. So the other big thing is we see quite dramatic fluctuations in ambient temperatures here in the UK. Where we're located, just to the east of the Atlantic Ocean, we all know that the weather changes very rapidly here. And you see these big swings, often 10, 15 degree drop in ambient temperatures outside. But because the houses are so poorly insulated, you see those big ambient temperature drops inside the property as well. So people have got used to requiring heat very quickly And therefore, we've spent the last 20, 30 years developing the gas boiler to be very reactive to people switching the thermostat up, heating the house up very quickly. And then when the ambient temperature warms up, they turn it back off. So in the UK, we're very, very used to switching our heating boilers on, off, right throughout the day and throughout the week. And you can't operate an electric heat pump like that. An electric heat pump is designed to offer what we call trickle heating, background heat, low temperature heat, and you leave the heating on 24/7. And our buildings are just not adapted and not suitable to operating that type of heating regime.
Okay, and Simon, coming to you, in terms of then the technology that you're doing related to hydrogen, very much, electric vehicles, seem to be the sort of way that we're solving that move to net zero, but it's not necessarily the solution when it comes to larger vehicles.
No, I think if you look at the trucks that are operating across the council fleet, there's various weights and sizes, and we recognise that the smaller end is probably more suitable for electrification for sure. But the trucks that we manufacture, these are doing 3 miles a gallon, so they're not very fuel efficient. And it's not just about the tailpipe emissions, it's about the energy that the RCV uses. Not literally going from the depot to the urban environment, but then picking the rubbish up. There's a lot of energy required there. So what we're looking at is hydrogen to power the fuel cells. The primary propulsion is a battery for sure, but then the hydrogen gives extra range and extra energy for when a vehicle leaves the depot to the extreme parts of the authority to pick up 1,500 bins. We feel that pure electrification, you're literally going to run out. So we see the hydrogen fuel cell application where heavy duty cycles are more appropriate.
And we've had Tom Pierpoint on from GWR. There was a recent trial in Worcestershire, which was a hydrogen train. But where in terms of kind of changing that fleet over, where are we currently in the UK?
Early days. I think it's very conceptual. We have a project in Germany, the Hector project, where we're involved. We have a vehicle that is working, so it's not that far away. I think it's a matter of a leap of faith and some investment to push the projects through. And I think initially there will be projects to prove the point. And then we just roll the plan out. We recognise that diesel trucks will be available up until around about 2030 for sure. But there'll be a slow evolution of the hydrogen fuel cell. And of course, as a commercialisation coming in, we've got to make them realistically priced, although the major thrust is the total cost of ownership, not just the capital cost.
Very much so. And Carl, how does the sort of low carbon agenda fit within Worcester Bosch's business?
Well, it's an absolutely instrumental part of our business. All the appliances that we sell here into the UK market at the moment emit carbon emissions when they're providing heating for the property, and therefore the ability to decarbonise that, either partially or completely, is fundamentally at the core of our future success and future existence. So certainly the proposal to government is we use electrification where that's appropriate, which is probably in new house build. But for the vast majority of the Victorian Georgian houses that I referenced earlier on, the way to heat those efficiently and in a zero carbon way is, we believe, to repurpose the gas network to carry hydrogen. And of course, when you fire 100% hydrogen to generate heat, then there are no carbon emissions given off whatsoever.
And same to you, Simon, really. You said that the sector's in its early stages, but where do you see the sort of next 12, 18 months in the backdrop of this kind of economic crisis with COVID? Where do you see the sector moving? Very positively. I mean, we're an environmental business, and we view, they're called waste vehicles, but they're not. We're moving material, and environmental and decarbonisation is really core part of our DNA in our business. And I just see that there's going to be a rapid shift, driven by the public, not just the politicians, where material is viewed as a material, not as a waste.
So more efficient vehicles are going to have to be used to take that material out of the stream, and therefore you need to look at how efficiently you're working your vehicles, not just from 6 o'clock in the morning till 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but if we can run them more efficiently and more silently and more eco-friendly, then why not sweat the asset, so to speak?
And the Worcestershire energy strategy kind of says we're going to grow the kind of low carbon economy by over a third. Do you think that's achievable?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think we've got a great opportunity. If there's a spirit there, then there's a way. It's people like Bosch and Fanzola that can provide the products to develop not just the products, but a new economy, a new skill set for our younger generation, you know, for my children's children. So absolutely, that's just about mindset, in my opinion.
And Carl, your role on the LEP board is obviously to kind of work with us in terms of that vision that we've set around that connected, creative, dynamic economy. Where does this low carbon economy really fit in?
Well, it's at the core of what we're all trying to do and achieve. And as Simon has just said, you know, the future of our planet is at stake here. And a lot of TV programs, and there's a lot of publicity now around the decarbonisation challenge. And I just see hydrogen as an absolute fundamental part of a future decarbonised energy system. And we use it wherever it's appropriate, but where we can use other sources of fuel, then we do so. So I think we'll see a much more diversified product portfolio from our perspective moving forward. But hydrogen is at the core of decarbonising those old housing stock that I've referenced a couple of times, and therefore it's fundamental to the future success of our business.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Simon. Certainly, as we look at the future of the economy moving forward, we can see that not just the digital connectivity, but this sort of net zero is really a focus of here in Worcestershire and our local businesses, and how we kind of come up to that challenge. We might not be a energy generator within the UK, but certainly we're an energy consumer, and therefore how we can do that more effectively and efficiently is something that will drive business, skills and jobs going forward. Do engage with our polls on this issue. We're really looking for your feedback. Any questions that you've got, please post them in, and we'll do our best to answer those as part of the virtual conference. Thank you. Hello, and welcome to the next session as part of the Worcestershire Virtual Conference. We're building on our last topic where we were talking to Carl and Simon about hydrogen and the technologies that they're bringing to products. What we're now looking at is Bromsgrove and how one of our districts and one of our locations is actually building on a kind of low carbon action plan and building that into all the things that they're doing. So with me is Anna. Hi.
Hi there.
So thank you for joining today. Obviously Bromsgrove is one of the areas in the county that's really leading the way on low carbon. Could you outline a bit more about your role and some of the things that Bromsgrove's starting to develop?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so I'm Anna Wardell-Hill and I'm the Environmental Policy and Awareness Officer for Bromsgrove District. I work in the sustainability team along with my colleague Kath Manning. We are working along a wide range of the services that we've got with the overall aim of driving down carbon, like you said, with our carbon action plan, looking at, first of all, quick wins, but also those longer term projects that we can get involved with. We've got 3 quite exciting projects on the go at the moment, each targeting separate areas of carbon emission. The major one is the development of a heat network for the town.
Okay, tell us a bit more about that.
The second one is a rapid electric vehicle charger network.
Okay.
And we also have a low carbon housing development that's on the go.
Do you want to tell us a bit more about the heat network?
Absolutely, yeah. It's really important in the UK that we address heating to decarbonise this as much as possible, as it makes such a large proportion of our overall carbon emissions in the UK. It's been recognised that heat networks will need to feature heavily in the future of the UK heat provision in order to meet our net zero carbon target by 2050. It's tried and tested technology. There's lots of older systems already around in the country, but not something that's actually kind of being looked at by many people at the moment. Now, The government has got a department set up with funding as well to try and encourage more areas to take these heat networks up. And what a heat network is essentially a large central heating system that connects a number of different buildings together via pipes under the ground, delivering hot water, sometimes power, to the different consumers that are connected onto the network. And one of its major benefits that we see is that you've got one energy centre for many consumers. So that enables us to plug one technology in and deliver that out across a really wide range of consumers and have a wider impact across many sites.
Brilliant. And you mentioned low carbon charging for sort of electric vehicles. Obviously, the electric vehicles seem to be kind of getting more and more on our sort of roads and in our locations, but charging points seem quite constrained. So what are you doing about that?
Yeah. So it really is kind of potluck, I think, where you live about your kind of charger access, really. But within Bromsgrove, we did identify that there was a shortfall of chargers, and we were able to be successful in bidding for some government funding. We had a £300,000 grant given to us from the OLEV taxi charger fund. So basically, they were looking at wanting to incentivise taxi drivers moving over to electric vehicles. Which is a great idea because they have lots of fares in their cabs every day and they're kind of spreading the word about how electric vehicles are used. So in the theory of that is brilliant. We already had 2 electric taxi drivers within Bromsgrove, and they had done a sterling job of already talking to all the taxi drivers and saying how brilliant it was. Basically, their margins shot through the roof. So it was fantastic for them. Rather than pumping their cars full of diesel, they were moving over to electric, which was costing them a lot less. So after talking to the taxi drivers, we realised that this was something we could really do. We could really start to develop this charging network for Bromsgrove. So we're at the point now where literally this week we are signing leases for sites where we are going to install 13 rapid chargers across the district. Hopefully they're going to be in before the end of the year, COVID willing. I don't know whether it will happen, but hopefully we're planning for the end of the year. And like I said, we're having a good spread across the district to open up that network to as many people as possible.
Oh, that's brilliant. And where the sort of Worcestershire energy strategy comes in has really been to support through the Getting Building Fund that we, again, mentioned in the kind of infrastructure piece, where we were talking about that, where it was investing across a range of the programme. But in Bromsgrove, it's supporting housing. And so, Anna, can you give us a feel of that project as well?
Yeah, that's right. So Bromsgrove District Council was looking at a project of developing 61 homes, and the specification had already been put together. This was something that was already happening, and we had asked for a kind of a low carbon slant on it. But this funding is enabling us to kind of go above and beyond now with it. So, like I say, the project was looking at improving energy efficiency of new residential schemes. And although it's only 61 homes, we hope it's going to have a wider spread in acting as a kind of an exemplar project for other home builders in the area. And we're looking for a 20% reduction in energy consumption across these homes. So that's going to result in lower utility costs for residents and lower carbon buildings than would normally be required by general building regulations.
Yeah, and do you think that exemplar piece means that we're showing it ways that different technologies can come together to help the low carbon sector?
Absolutely, that's right. We want to kind of look at integration of the mechanical and technical elements, such as using battery storage and to feed into electric vehicle charge points and things like that. Just more integration of how these houses will work, which isn't there really in general house building out there. And asking house builders that are working in the area to do these things is difficult when we haven't actually tried and tested it ourselves. So it's given us that opportunity.
Brilliant. No, and certainly, something that other districts are passionate about. So you're working with your colleagues across Worcestershire to kind of share the knowledge?
Yeah, we do have regular meetings with colleagues in various different service areas, everything from waste to biodiversity. That there is connections there, and we can't really do these things in isolation. Pollution and carbon doesn't stop at our boundaries. It's much wider than that, so we do have to work together.
Brilliant. Thank you, Anna. That's been great. It's been really good, fascinating to learn about the projects that you're doing there in Bromsgrove, and certainly some of those are leading the way, not just in Worcestershire, but also regionally and nationally. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Welcome. On this session, we're focused on the future of business support. So we've talked about the future of the economy, but what businesses are experiencing at the moment is really difficult times. And with me, I've got Sharon from the Chamber and Mandesh from Business Central. So, Sharon, if you could introduce your role, but also perhaps give us a feel of some of the challenges that some of the Chamber members are having at the moment.
Yep, thanks Gary. My name is Sharon Smith. I'm Chief Executive of Herefordshire and Worcestershire Chamber of Commerce. What it's like for businesses at the moment, the last 6 months have been really tough, obviously, for lots of businesses, particularly those who have faced longer restrictions. So obviously at the start, everyone was in the national lockdown, but those who faced extended periods of local lockdown have really found it tough. There have been some good news stories mixed in between, the really hard news stories as well. Perhaps those who have supplied supermarkets or maybe find different ways to diversify their products or routes to market. So there have been some successes along the way, but the challenges have been really tough.
And particularly because the Chamber really focuses on kind of export support as well. What have our exporters been saying?
Exporters have found international markets harder and it's actually taken longer to bounce back on overseas sales than it has from UK sales. That's one of the things that's come up in the latest economic indicator report. So we've seen, which is great news, we've seen the upward curve of orders in the quarter from April to June, I think it was, orders declined by 66%. So that shows the huge drop-off in orders that businesses were facing. The last quarter, really good news, to share today, is that turned into just a -9% in terms of orders. So it's still a negative, but it's really much improved from the previous quarter. However, international sales was slightly lower than that, so they're still finding it tough too. And of course, we've got Brexit around the corner, or UK EU exit, less than 3 months away now. And I think some are quite prepared for that, but others are still facing some challenges with what to do, where to start, and where to go. So hopefully we can help with that too.
Okay, and welcome Mandesh.
Welcome.
Part of the Business Central team. So during this period, you've been out there also virtually talking to a number of businesses. How have you been finding it?
We have found a number of businesses have really been affected by COVID-19. A lot of the businesses that are coming to us really need to rebuild the business confidence and look at alternative strategies and models to really help them grow their businesses. We're getting a lot of businesses still coming to us looking for updates on regular COVID regulations that are coming through central government to find out how they really have to be impacted. And we're also finding it's frequently changing and keeping that up for a lot of the businesses that we work have been really difficult.
Yeah, and certainly the team's been there to support both incoming calls and external.
Absolutely, we've been as reactive as proactive. We've been contacting businesses on a daily basis, really, finding out intelligence of businesses and how it's affecting them, really lobbying on their behalf. We've seen a change in a lot of the programmes that have come forward, and really that's what businesses have put forward and some of those changes that have taken place.
Sharon, what would you say then are the top issues for businesses over this period?
Okay, in the start, I'd say it was without a doubt lack of orders. So orders were just falling by the wayside and cash flow difficulties. So aligned with the lack of orders came not enough cash reserves, and the government did step in. You know, we have had an unprecedented amount of support from government, but what we're finding is those challenges still remain for a lot of businesses, so they still don't have the orders quite at the levels that they had before COVID-19, and that's suffering their cash flow still. I think now, I think at the start it was also about working from home, and we found a lot of businesses obviously worked at home for the first couple of months, and they've settled into that now, and also returned to offices and factories and got used to safer ways of working, and sticking to those regulations that Randish has talked about. But now I think the major challenge is with the end of the job retention scheme in the next couple of weeks. We've got the job support scheme, but there's mixed feelings from businesses whether that's going to be enough to be able to save jobs and not hit that spike in redundancies that nobody wants to see happen. So,
and how's that chamber offer changed in terms of you can't run training courses like you were, or networking like you were?
Yeah, it's a really good point. We've had to change the way we've delivered our services, like, you know, most of the businesses who are members of the chamber, and one of the biggest thing was about face-to-face visits, events, training courses. But we have learnt a lot through it, and we found, you know, we can be more productive if we do Zoom calls instead of maybe travelling some of the distances that we've got in a rural area like Herefordshire and Worcestershire. So that's been really good. And training courses, it's been really encouraging to see how many people are still interested in training, keeping their skills levels up at a time like this is really important. And we've actually found that customers have enjoyed the productivity that they've saved from not travelling and doing some of those shorter courses online. Webinars have been a huge success. We've run about 90 webinars, I think, to probably about 3,000 delegates. So that's all people in the local business community that have come out to understand more about the schemes that government have put in place.
And Randish, that sort of Business Central have also been getting that message out there about support webinars. But also there's plenty of grants and other pieces.
Absolutely. I think the world of grants can be quite a minefield for businesses. I think where Worcestershire Business Central can help is the one-to-one support we can offer businesses, looking at their barriers to growth, looking at their challenges, and really helping them to work out what support is available. Here at the moment, there's actually quite a bit of support available and still untapped by a lot of different businesses. And it's probably grants that normal businesses wouldn't have applied for, but actually there are a point in their business life where times like this they probably never thought they'd see, and so really it's really important that businesses tap into this government support that's on offer, and contact Worcestershire Business Central, and we can signpost them to the most relevant support available locally.
Okay, yeah, and the Business Central kind of Growth Hub offers changing nationally with advisors coming in?
That's right, yeah. So what we're looking to do is to do the advisors to work on specific strategies to support businesses, looking at working more to peer-to-peer, and businesses to work with each other, and really help them through this time.
So as we look kind of to the future, and I suppose to get your crystal ball out, I suppose what would you want to see, Sharon, for the local business community coming forward to support them in their journey through kind of recovery, restart and moving from there? What are things you think can be put in place?
We want to see more support from government, so we want to see some more specific schemes, and we'll continue to lobby for that. It's probably about what we don't want to see. I think we need to do everything we can not to go into a second national lockdown. And we want to increase consumer confidence, because ultimately that's the thing that will make the economy grow again. And again, a national lockdown is not going to be great for consumer confidence. So sort of about what we don't want as well as what we do want. But yeah, I would love some more support for government for really hard to hit sectors, those facing local lockdowns, and anybody that's still struggling with the new job support scheme, if that's not enough.
Yeah, and if anyone's got a question that comes from the chamber or kind of thinks, where do they go?
Yeah, I mean, we work really closely with Worcester Business Central, so come to the chamber, come to Worcester Business Central, and whichever way you come in, through the website, call us, email us, we'll take everybody's query and try and help them.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you.
both. Hello. Welcome to the session. This one's focused on promoting Worcestershire. Certainly looking forward into the future, as Worcestershire is a great county to live, to work, to visit. And so I'm joined here by Julia, who's Chair of the Ambassadors.
Hello.
What's your last 12 months been as Chair of the Ambassadors, and what has the organisation been up to?
Well, quite challenging really in some aspects, because I took over as Chair of Worcestershire Ambassadors this time last year. It's our 25th anniversary, so we had lots and lots of things planned, but we've just adapted to the situation really. Normally we have lots and lots of events planned, but we've just gone into supporting the organisation, supporting the members, supporting the community, and signposting a lot really.
Yeah, because the Strictly Worcestershire event is normally a huge showpiece that attracts the crowds, attracts people in. It's something that sells out nearly as soon as you put the tickets out.
It does. It's normally a year in the making of blood, sweat and tears, to be honest with you. This year, actually, we decided to give it a rest, thankfully. But in terms of events, you know, we should have had our ball recently as well. But, you know, we can't have events in the same way that we did. But we did have recently a socially distanced golf day. So what we're trying to do really is, you know, we're supporting the community in a different way. So lots of our members, board members have been volunteering, offering their services. We've been working with the Worcester Uni and the County Council to have a business mentor pilot as well. So we're just doing as much as we can, but in a different way.
Yeah, and very supportive of all the things that go on in the community.
Yeah.
And membership's been growing?
Actually, membership hasn't really changed. We've been so blessed in that way, really, particularly in the current times. But it just shows that, you know, in Worcestershire, we've got a great community. We've got incredibly resilient businesses and the people around, and, you know, we're all supporting each other wherever we can.
Yeah, and the Ambassador Network is there not just to kind of promote and like you said, it's the events and the showpieces, but also externally, it's to celebrate Worcestershire as a great place to live.
Definitely. I mean, a lot of people know about Worcestershire Ambassadors because of the events that we put on, but actually, you know, we have done other things and we continue to do other things to support Worcestershire as a great place to work, live, invest, you know, do business. So, you know, we've mainly just focused on the other objectives that we've had really as well. One of our board directors is Sue Crowe. She's, you know, works with the county council, so she's been working a great deal and helping us understand, you know, the needs of our members, the community. We've got Vince Hopkins, one of the non-exec directors, been working with One Worcestershire. So, you know, we've got a great network, not just on the board, but also our members themselves who have really stepped up, come forward, and just been really helpful in trying to support each other where we can.
Yeah, and the network's kind of unique to the county in a sense, because it is, you know, so it is about people giving their time and being passionate about Worcestershire, and I suppose that's what sets it apart from any of everything else in a sense.
More so than ever. I mean, we have a great membership, but that's partly down to the fact that we've got great people in Worcestershire that are so supportive of each other. I mean, with the pilot that we're doing with Worcester Uni and the County Council, the business mentoring, that also, in this particular times, is going to be so useful and so helpful. You know, we've got established business leaders that are wanting to help, you know, other people that just need that support right now. It's lonely at the top sometimes, and you just need that critical friend. So, yeah, we've got a lot of talented people within the membership.
Yeah, and your period of chairmanship, it goes, you've got another year, haven't you?
I've got another year.
So in that terms, what are you looking forward to? Obviously, everybody's looking to the end of 2020, but what are you looking forward to in 2021?
Well, originally, when I took over as chair, my hope really was, yes, we do a lot of fundraising, but my hope really was also to do a lot of volunteering and showing the other aspect of the sort of skills that we've got as a membership. So we're going to continue with that really. Last year we supported mental health, and I think this year we're going to continue along that vein really of, we're going to launch something soon, but I won't say what it is, where we're going to help, you know, mental health, because I think it's, particularly at this time, it's a big topic and a lot of people are suffering out there. So we're going to help and support where we can.
Okay, and if somebody's out there is interested in getting involved in the ambassadors, how do they do that?
They go onto the website, which is www.worcestershireambassadors.com, or contact me or any of the board directors and just ask, really. You can sign up online quite easily, but you know, it'd be just great. We're looking for passionate people that want to raise the profile of Worcestershire and do their bit for the community.
Yeah, and do you think Worcestershire as a kind of visitor location, do you think, you know, it's kind of coming into its own because of the kind of staycation piece?
I think it's fabulous. I mean, I saw that wonderful piece in the Times not so long ago. I mean, I've only lived in Worcestershire for 10 years and I think it's an amazing place. We've got some, you know, wonderful places to stay. The countryside, it's just an amazing place and the people are so friendly as well, so definitely.
Well, you and your team certainly sell it and I think that's really good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julia, much appreciated, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
This has been a great session looking at the future economy. We've gone from technology and Beaterden, Malvern Hill Science Park, but across the county, really looking at our businesses and how they're coping with things like digital connectivity, but also low carbon and moving forward. And the business support is there, either through the Chamber, through Worcestershire Business Central, or working with the ambassadors and Julia's team to really get involved. And it's about the community that we really see Worcestershire shaping up as a great place in the future. Do engage with us on the polls. We're really keen to get your feedback on the whole session. If you've got questions or comments, we're always happy to take those forward. And we look forward to our next session tomorrow. Thank you.